live well, and live in good homes. The head of service, Kogi State, let's welcome Mrs. Hannah Odio. Please put your hands together for her. She comes up to speak a little to us. Please, let's clap for her.
The representative of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Redan President, members of the High Table, and the beautiful participants, good morning. I thank you for inviting me to be here. I know some of you will be wondering why I am here. You know, the theme is apt. Improving access to affordable housing for wealth creation and national development. The issue of housing concerns everyone. I am here, I represent the civil servants, the public servants at whatever level, because we are the ones in dire need of housing. And you know, culturally, as a nation, the value we give to ownership of house. And for instance, a civil servant who has gone through the career phase of his or her life and is exiting the service and does not own a house. He or she doesn't have a shelter where to keep his family even after retirement. It's unimaginable. The pain is unimaginable. It means that civil servant will continue to use his pension to pay rent. So you'll see how important it is for civil servants to own houses. And so I thank Redan for the good job you are doing, and you are even doing well in Kogi State, except that we need more. You know, the need is so enormous that state government alone cannot adequately provide the housing need for her workforce. So the deficit is chronic, the need is chronic. But by God's grace, I know that with your good work, you go a long way to settle Nigerians, particularly the public civil servants, with housing. Thank you for this program, and I wish you well.
Thank you very much, ma'am. The president is very gender sensitive, and he insisted we must bring a woman to speak. Please clap for her, and above all, clap for my president. It's not when you build a house and you live in it, there's happiness. But when you take a leave and you come back, a young man took leave and left his office. By the time he came back, the company was not there anymore. So we asked him, said, what happened? He said, sir, I went on leave for 2 weeks. I'm back and the company has relocated and I don't know the new address. He said, you have lost your job. Well, and that is why we need to secure the control of our estates against hijackers. It's a project that the Southwest Zone embarked upon. As part of their goodwill message, let me invite the National Vice President and Chairman of the Southwest Zone, Mr. Debo Adejono, to come and tell us a little in his goodwill of 2 minutes and to also share with us a little about that project. Please put your hands together for him.
Thank you very much. I promise not to exceed your time. Please allow me to stand on existing protocol. I would like to congratulate the President, National President Redan, for this AGM. I would like to say that he's very much in character that we are having something like this during his regime and on a consistent basis. We pray that as you rally on with us for this very last leg. We will definitely witness a resounding success as you've been recording in your tenure. Thank you very much. Just as it was said, Southwest put up a program last year, July, because we identified a need with developers. A number of us here who have residential estates that we've built and people living there know that one of the big headache that a developer contends with is mutiny and discordant tones amongst your buyers, residents, especially as it pertains to managing facilities and the estates. And for obvious reasons, sometimes we are at fault. A lot of the time, they cannot afford the cost of maintaining a decent house, and they want to then seize control and run down what you've built that you want to be using as reference. And a number of us will attest to the fact that we have cases in court in that regard. But we realize that this is very preventable if we do the proper thing. And so we gathered experts, lawyers, estate surveyors and valuers, developers ourselves that have gone through these experiences, residents themselves, to come to a symposium and let's judge and kind of profile a solution to this problem. And we succeeded at that in Lagos, but we realized that even though we extended the invitation to nationally, a number of us could not make that event. So we have packaged it in a book format so that you can easily access those solutions. In here, there are sample documents, legal documents that you can base, that you can give to your legal advisors and all, and they can start to, customize to your own needs and requirements, such that you can beforehand prevent an hijack, so that you have a proper foundation for your project. Those books are here. We actually sell them for 35,000 naira for those who couldn't attend the program. The program was about 100,000. But for this event, also from the request of Mr. President, we are giving a huge discount, and you can buy it right at this venue for 25,000 naira. Okay, so books are being circulated, and you can just call the ladies, pay into the account, and you would have yourself a copy. We also have a stand out there. We've enjoyed the benefits of working with a number of people in getting these ready. Some of our partners are now, FMBN particularly, working with Redan to do this. So thank you very much. It's a library material that you as a CEO needs to read, and you also need to give to your team, your lawyers, your estate surveyors, your estate managers, to be able to be abreast, so that we can put an end to one of the biggest headache of developers. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. He says the book is available. Please buy the original copy, don't buy the photocopy. We are here to sell it now. Buy original. I want to once again appreciate the representative of the Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers, Estate Surveyor and Valuer Victor A. Alonge is here, the first Vice President. We'll bring you up later on for a goodwill message. I'm sure we have a few more that will come up. Thank you very much. Please, let's clap for him. Let's clap for him. Thank you. But the next will be a very important message from one that we refer to as an institution. He's a mentor, a builder par excellence, one who knows the rules of building. He teaches the rules, and he ensures that these rules are followed. Former Managing Director of the Pan-African Finance Institution, Shelter Afrique, and currently Chairman of the Board of Trustees of Redan. Let's welcome Prince Oluseyi Lufadeju for his good message. Please, let's clap properly for our chairman.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's already afternoon. Let me stand on the existing protocol, but especially thank and salute members of the high table. I think if you look critically at the members of the high table, you'll see that the government of Nigeria is here. Can we give a clap for that, please? When I say that, I mean the representatives, the critical representatives in the sector that we are dealing with, all of them are here. And I dare say that good morning, Nigeria, new days are here. New days are here. And I think as members and shareholders, because we are all shareholders of Redan, we should be delighted to see that the new government, which we have, is already giving us dividends of democracy. I can inform you very authoritatively this morning that the Policy Advisory Council of the federal government was authorized by the president to undertake a study in all the sectors of the economy, and the report of this council has already been delivered. And I'm very excited, I'm very delighted to note that even though we have been saying in the past that government is not doing anything in the shelter sector, government is saying nothing, in this report, government has said a lot of things. Government has put the ball in our court. Government has given us the blueprint of what they want to do, and I'm very, very happy to see that the sector that we are dealing with is very well represented, that we are going to have affordable housing in decent environment in this our national development. The members of the Advisory Council, if I can inform you, Senator Tokunbo Abiru, who is the chairman, Dr. Yemi Cardozo, Samaila Subaru, Dr. Deris Anite. And they submitted their report on the 17th of May to the president, and that report has now been released. We're going to have very, very effective sector impact on the Federal Mortgage Bank in the area of policy formulation and reforms. We are going to launch a consumer credit scheme for housing and consumer goods. Government is going to leverage the pension funds in the tune of almost 9 trillion naira to be diverted to the shelter sector. We're going to review the PENCOM regulations to allow increased investment in shelter and mortgage. We're going to subscribe interest to subsidize interest rate by granting tax exemptions. And these are all the things that are in this report. The one that gave me the greatest pleasure is the one that says that land in all states of Nigeria, including the FCT, will now be digitalized in order to make approval of building plans very simple, very short, and very straightforward. So we don't need to bribe anybody, because everything will have been dealt with in the blueprint that have been given to us. So we hold a ton of gratitude to the government for starting with this type of thing. And I think in our shelter sector especially, we are very grateful that we have the instruments to work with now. So like I said, the ball is in our court. What we in Redan should do, and I've had a discussion with Mr. President, with our president here, not President of Nigeria, President of Redan, is that we need to set up a think tank to look at that report and give our own detailed intervention path. How are we going to intervene? How are we going to take advantage of this? This is very important for us. We are not in any position to complain that government is doing nothing now, because government has said, we are ready to do it. This is the plan. Do something and let us have your plan. So congratulations, government of Nigeria. And I think I'm delighted that the representative of secretary to the government is here today to convey our message that Redan is ready to work with government and all the other government institutions that are here, the ministry, the FCT, and the Ministry of Works, we are ready to partner with government in this dispensation, and please, the sky will be the limit for us. So, having said that, let me also give you a bit of good news. When they say good news in my church, we clap. Can I see you clapping? Good news. One of our one of our members who is what's the name of the position of Panimo who is yes, what's his appointment? He's a life patron. That I miss that. The life patron of Redan, Chief Babatude Panimokun, who was supposed to be at this meeting, has asked me to inform the president and all of you that he's unable to attend due to certain circumstances. But that he has an ongoing project in Lagos. We will be ready to discuss the details of that project, where we have international support or loan of up to $3 billion. It will include infrastructure, it will include housing, it will include port creation, and it will include other facilities. Redan has been specially invited to come and partner, to come and be part of this project without paying a damn. So, again, that is a matter for our president and the board of trustees and the council to look at and see how we can work with this organization. And I think it is a challenge to all of us that there are a lot of projects going on all around the country where members of Redan are ready to partner, are ready to participate. It's an opportunity for us to exchange ideas. Let us have this kind of discussions going on why we do not need to isolate ourselves in development, why we need to cooperate, why we need to collaborate with ourselves at the national, at the state level. Thank you so much. I hope I have not used 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that good news. Another round of applause for him, please. Thank you. The good news is something we will talk about during tea break later. But let me invite the first Vice President, Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers, ASV Victor Adekunle Alonge, to come and do us a goodwill message.
Good afternoon. Please let me stand on the protocol already established. I'm here representing our president, who is unavoidably absent. I think he's attending a board meeting of our regulatory body as we speak. His name is Jombul Amayebo. And I bring his greetings and that of the entire membership of the institution. I want to commend the Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria for what they have been doing. I think as a profession, we have always been part of the activities of Redan. And I think a good testament of our involvement and participation is that the guest speaker of today, Professor Benganubi, is one of our colleagues. He's an estate surveyor and valuer. And we're always very proud when we have our colleagues participate But let me just say on behalf of the institution that we are delighted with the efforts of Redan. Your activities in actually bringing sanity to an industry that has already been given bad names. The way you've gone about it, we are proud of you. But I would just want to, like Cobon chairman said, please try and be much more inclusive. Understand that we professionals in the industry, because Redan is basically a business, organization. But you have done extremely well. You have professionals everywhere in the organization, and that is actually helping to drive, the good work that you are doing. But please try and carry along the professional bodies so that you have a much more robust presence, and then it makes it easier for government to listen to us. The theme of today is actually absolutely important. Everybody in the industry will actually identify with it, and we are very proud that you have also chosen a good topic. So please accept our goodwill. We're proud of you, and we're always very available, willing to partner with you. I remember the various encounters we had at the National Assembly with your president. He's a very dogged man, because some of the things that I'm not surprised that the bill was eventually passed. But this is Redan. This is real estate. Every one of us, this is the industry that we operate. We want you to please understand that we need to be together. We need to work together. Prince Lufadeju has actually given us some information. I think even when that committee was set up, because the chairman is my personal friend, I knew what his position. And he's somebody that actually loves this industry. And also the current president is somebody who knows the potential of real estate. He's very interested, and it is going to be a good time for all practitioners within the industry to come together and then make him, still favor us. He will listen to us, but let's come together and present formidable and robust positions. Thank you very much for the opportunity. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Please, let's clap for him. Let's clap. Just to give us a perspective of what will happen in the next few minutes, we will All right, we will take one goodwill message, and then we'll take key messages from the permanent secretaries of the FCT and Federal Ministry of Works, and then we'll go to the keynote speaker, and eventually we'll take a lead message from the SGF before we take break. So to just lead us, next will be a short message from our live patron, who is also the chairman of Urban Shelter, Malam Ibrahim Aliu, who's represented here today by Hamisu Abubakar Jamari, who is a senior special assistant to the chairman. Please put your hands together for him.
Members of the High Table, representative of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, and all members of the High Table, and all members of the Redan, permit me to exist on the existing protocol. health challenge. That's why he cannot be here. So Malam Ibrahim Aliu, the chairman of Open Shelter, and all other companies is wishing well to all Redan members, and particularly the president and all members of the high table. We wish the best, and we wish all best of luck. Thank you.
We apologize for that non-audio goodwill message, but it came from the heart, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Please put your hands together for him. We'll take more, and this time we're going to host the landlord, the FCT, the permanent secretary of the FCT, Olushade Adeshola, who's represented here by engineer E.A. Oluwadamisi, who is the director of mass housing of the FCT. Please put your hands together for him.
Thank you very much. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, ably represented by Prof. The President of Redan, and all other members of the high table. Please, for want of time, permit me to just stand on the well-established protocol. The Permanent Secretary of the Federal Capital Territory Administration, Mr. Olushade Adeshola, brings his warm greetings. He desired to be here personally, but due to the exigencies of the office, he had to travel out of the country, so he asked me to come and represent him. And he did say that it is a great privilege and honor for him to be invited to the 14th annual general meeting of the Redan as a guest of honor. And he particularly expressed his delight that he's been requested to also make a goodwill message. It is noted the theme of the AGM, improving access to affordable housing for wealth creation and national development, is a well-articulated topic and can't be more appropriate than now. It is only a well-accommodated workforce that can create wealth and participate actively in nation building and national developmental activities. As you all know, affordable housing is described in the Abuja Master Plan as any housing delivered under a program that strikes a satisfactory balance between the quality of residential buildings and the ability of householders to purchase those houses. So looking at the context from the Abuja Master Plan, there is a great effort to ensure the provision of affordable housing. And the success is yet to be achieved, but more progress has also been attained in the housing delivery sector. So the FCT administration want to congratulate and appreciate the role that Redan has been playing in housing delivery in the FCT. Yeah, and the administration also wants to challenge developers, especially through the association, to help to ensure that the houses that are being provided in the FCT are at affordable costs. This can be achieved through so many ways, which we expect that the association will brainstorm on. At least come down a little bit on your profits. And then we also, in the FCT administration, we see how we make land available, and then we also reduce the bureaucratic bottleneck that is being experienced in approval processes. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot overemphasize the fact that affordable housing plays a substantial and reinforcing role in economic development. So FCT administration took good cognizance of this, and that is why it has prepared and made several programs, which includes the mass housing program, where I'm currently serving as the director, just to see how we can midwife and coordinate to ensure the delivery of affordable housing. We also want to use this opportunity to challenge the finance people in our midst to see how we can enhance the income or the interest rate so that on the long run, Nigerians and residents of FCT will be able to afford these houses. The technical team members also who are into manufacturing of materials that relate to housing production, we can also, through this organization, Redan, can also help, because the focus is to make the houses affordable. So, and the only way we can do that is to ensure that we brainstorm extensively and see how we narrow and come to a common goal where every Nigerian will be a very proud house owner. So we also want to use this opportunity to, please, at the end of this conference, whatever the recommendations are, whatever the the conclusions are, we will be glad to have it in the FCT administration so that the ones that relate to our own end, we can also work on it so that together we move the housing sector forward. I want to thank you very much for your attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that very important line of accommodating. When we lower on our profits, you also lower on the other things that make it hard for us to get land. Thank you very much. Please, let's clap for that. At a housing and solar projects conference in the FCT, a young man walked in after the conference. He said they had discussed solar, and he said, I have finally saved enough money to buy enough solar panels. What is holding me back is that I cannot afford the house. So I don't know whether I should sell the solar panel and buy a house first. But let me especially welcome the second Redan president, who's now become a patron of their Redan, Chief Bode Afolayan. Please put your hands together for him. Thank you very much. In those days, they will go from development control to AGs to everywhere to make sure that the association is heard. Right now, you don't need to go from your office. You call them and they'll come. But those people struggle, they work hard to make sure that Redan stands strong. Thank you very much, sir. Next, let me go to the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Works and Housing. Permanent Secretary is represented by ESV Alabi Collins, who's the Deputy Director in charge of Special Duties, Acquisition and Compensation of Department of Lands and Housing Development. Please put your hands together for him as he delivers also a special message.
Good afternoon, everybody. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, ably represented, the President in Council, other members of the BOT, Executive of the Redan, members of the I table, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am representing the permanent secretary who is engaged with other state functions. So he has sent in a very short address to be delivered at this 14th annual general meeting of this great. With the team, improving access to affordable housing for wealth creation and national development. And he said further that he's aware that the Ministry of Works and Housing over the years has enjoyed close collaboration with the Redan towards common goal of achieving access to affordable housing and increasing the housing stock in Nigeria. The laudable contributions of your association, Redan, towards increasing housing stock are well noted and commendable. This will in no doubt further enhance more productivity and attainment of wealth creation to national development as your teams depicts. The federal government, through the Ministry of Works and Housing, will continue to create an enabling environment in the subsector for a robust housing delivery in Nigeria. This is the short message of the permanent secretary, and he's sending his felicitations to the great Redan and wishing them well. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Well, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you. Another applause will not be out of order. Well, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, while he was speaking, another BOT member walked in, Alhaji Suleiman Abubakar Walin Kefi. Please put your hands together for him. You're welcome. Well, this is what I do when I want to bring up a keynote address speaker. It's a simple exercise. I just count 1 to 3 and say go and expect us to clap once. Is this something we can try? 1, 2, 3. Okay, I didn't say go. Can we try it one more time? 1, 2, 3. Okay, I still didn't say go. Let's try it last time. 1, 2, 3, go. Yeah, what that says is that for the average human being, you have to tell him something at least 3 times for him to understand. Our keynote speaker has only one opportunity to speak to us, and he's going to speak to us about very, very important things. So I will need your attention to listen to him. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, while I was preparing for this, I said, instead of going into the profile of the man, let me find out really if this man is living what he has been called to come and talk about. And then I noticed that in the year 2000, and in the Journal of African Real Estate Research, he co-authored a very important paper on housing affordability, government intervention, and housing informality, an African dilemma. In 2006, I don't know whether this was published, but it was when he was working on his PhD thesis. It was an assessment of the effectiveness of mortgage finance for housing procurement in selected cities in Nigeria. In 2014, he co-authored with Y. Affair an article, a very detailed paper on redefining affordable housing through sustainable practices. In 2007, it was a paper, he was the lead contributor on a paper, Affordable Program as an Agenda for the Federal Ministry of Housing. Also in 2002, he also wrote on financing low-income housing in Nigerian cities. So I looked him up again and I said, let's be sure that this really is our man. But distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, he truly is. Someone had written about him saying, His passion to find a lasting solution to Nigerian building problem is in his DNA. When looking at him, he has a BSc honors in estate management, UNILAG. He also had a master's in construction management, University of Lagos, 2002. He has a certificate in housing finance management, University of Pennsylvania in the USA. His PhD is in construction management from the prestigious University of Lagos. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I present to us a prolific writer, a motivational speaker, a researcher, a revered academic, and Director of Research and Innovations Office, University of Lagos. Please welcome Professor Timothy Benga Nubi. Please, let's clap for him.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. With gratitude to God Almighty and appreciation to people that God has used to push me to where I am. The representative of the Secretary to the Federal Government, colleague, a fellow professor of a great university, University of Port Harcourt, a founder of a university himself. We appreciate your coming. God bless you. And to our president, well done, sir. And to the chairman BOT, the man who gave me my first job in 1982, Prince Lufadeji. You will clap for the person that gave me my first job. I was roaming the streets of Lagos looking for a job. And I told my uncle, who was actually a director then, and who got in touch with him. And he just asked my uncle, where is that your boy? My uncle said, I don't keep it in my pocket. I will have to. Then it was a time of a period of no telephone. So I have to send for me. Thank you. He's been a great role model, and we are proud of you. Thank you, sir. My friend and the MD of Federal Mortgage Bank. Thank you, sir. And many people here. Guy Okechukwu. Thank you. Thank you so much. Town Planner Gaba, thank you so much. My friend, almost my twin brother, Madam Suleiman, I have not located you. We thank God that, I'm standing before you with mixed feelings. That the seed that was grown in 2002 is becoming bigger and bigger every day. With sense of humility, I'm so happy to be here to talk to this body. Because Redan started in my office in the University of Lagos. It was the secretariat. Redan was, my office was the secretariat for 3 years. The registration form for Redan, I designed it for members. And the logo, I remember the logo, were designed by my students of architecture. Students of architecture in mind. And when the Redan office moved out of Lagos, my friend, where's Madam Suleiman? Okay, this pillar is blocking me. My friend, Madam Suleiman of Imani Estate, graciously accommodated Redan. So we moved the Redan secretariat from my office to his own office at Maitama. Thank you for all you have done for Redan. It was with him, the secretariat was with him for almost 3 years before we were able to settle down and rent our first office. Shifa Folayo, the MC remarked that you were moving from office to office for as many that have grown Redan. My brother there, Brother Oka, these are gracious job done with passion. With passion. I remember when our financial secretary, went away with all we had, 25 million. That was all we had. That 25 million, I brought almost half of it from Lagos, members registration. It's been a journey. And it was so active. It was so active that Baba Jakonde wrote, I want to say thank you to Baba, the founding president of Redan, late Baba Jakonde. Because the man, well, let's just appreciate him. Those are great Nigerians and blessing to humanity. Baba Jakonde gave him a thank you letter, just to appreciate his zeal. And less than 1 month, all the money disappeared. When he was arrested, he showed the letter of thank you of Baba Jakonde to the police. I said, don't mind them. This is me that they commended. They were only envious. They removed all the money. They they deleted everything from the computer. It was connivance. Somebody remarked then, because in the office, in the secretariat of Redan then, we have the Yorubas, we have the Igbos, we have the Hausas there. But Nigerians, people said that, how can Nigeria this is the first time Nigeria really cooperated to steal. And because they went away with all the money that we had. But that was the beginning of Redan. And that's why I'm saying that we have to go through this lane to see that those of us that God used to start will look with the heart of gratitude. Are we where the vision? Are we fulfilling the vision? Are we where we ought to be? We can say no. But we are not where we were in 2002. We have made progress. And I believe that every one of us will deserve to clap for ourselves. I'm still waiting. I'm talking because I don't have my stick. I don't have my paper loaded. Okay, thank you. Where is the pointer? You promised me, because it's so we have about 62 slides. Though many of them are pictures. So if I don't control them from here, it will be very difficult for me. So it's been a journey. And one thing I kept on saying is that things are changing. Most of the things I will say here, it's like storytelling. And to tell us that we really need to position ourselves for the future we're really looking for. We really need to position ourselves for the future we're waiting for. One thing that is certain, I kept on telling my colleagues in Redan, is that our generation, there is these anomalies in the country or in Africa, whereby you build houses. In developing countries and in poor nations, an average person, they build houses. But all over the world, people buy houses. For you to buy a house, to build a house in US, in UK, you must belong to a particular income bracket, a celebrity. People like Muhammad Ali. But an average person will buy a house. But in Nigeria, we build a house. And the rich among us, they buy. And I kept on saying that my own children, either we like it or not, we not build a house, they will buy. So we are in a market that is, we must prepare a market that is future ready. And the future that we think is far is right here. My son, 2 years ago, just phoned me. He lives in Europe. He said, Dad, I saw some properties. identify Aaron property, Aaron estate in Lagos. He said, are they real? I said, what do you need? He said, I'm looking at one or two of them. So he didn't tell me that daddy buy land for me and look for bricklayer. Their generation, we buy. And that makes that we are operating at the right time. Where people will not go through the problem of money. They will just search for your site and pay online. So we must be ready. We must have products that are really ready for that, to serve this generation that we are in. So we are at the beginning of a process, and the future is quite beautiful for us. The remote. Where do I control my paper? Hello? I've said this since 9. So, I said next. You can't next this one. No. They told me that. Okay, go to the first page. Because there are so many, and there are many that I really want to jump. So that's why they promised me, they told me, okay. One thing I want to say is that housing, okay. People on the IT, that's space for them. Okay, you can see. Okay. Housing represents one of the most basic human needs. But often treated as in transit economics like unwanted sector, frustrating nuisance, non-producing sector of the economy. That's unfortunately. They always believe that it will wait. They always believe that housing can wait. Housing can wait. It's not. Is that the root? So,
check 1, 2.
the next. Okay, it's working now. Thank you so much. Well, I always want to say, to see the magnitude of what is before us. This is a picture from Lagos. This is it's not working. You are changing it. That's why I'm saying it can't work. Where we can see a bed, and we can see the beautiful house. These are everything that God has created. They have the architecture, they have beautiful design. And this is a peak of architecture and engineering, if you can look at it. How can that nest be hanging on that leaves? That's engineering, isn't it? And there will be wind and everything. It's not working. Next. Okay. You see termites. They have a house. And I think those people are obeying the biblical injunction. Go to the ant and land. You know, ants, they have houses. And when you look at the next one. The architecture and engineering is superb. The coin is down there. And you see the soldiers. Those are the least in God's creation. But they were able to house themselves. And the housing, the mass housing in Nigeria today, we have 2 to 2 trillion required to finance housing. We have population that lack decent quality urban life. We have estimated housing deficit about 16 to 20 million. Like someone said, it depends on the author you are citing. Urban population grew twice the national population. Those are the issues around mass housing. But the truth is that, the joy is that there is a market. There is a market. Like I kept on telling anyone, do you need to do feasibility study to go into transportation business in Lagos? You don't need it. You buy 20 luxurious buses, take it to Ojota, within 2 minutes, they are all filled up. So that tells you the beauty and the opportunity that is before us. Let's go to the next slide. Multiple global environmental crises in Africa. Desertification, urbanization, and terrorism. These are issues we are contending with in our time. And these issues, they influence our business. And as long as climate change is there and the deserts are disappearing, you can never force those who are doing nomadic agriculture to remain and die in the desert. They will move to where the green grass are. So there is going to be continuous challenge of banditry until we settle down and find solution. So these are things that are facing us as a people. There are several government policies in the past as presented. Creation of residential quarters, the colonial period, after colonial period, creation of FMBN, reform of FMBN. So many things had happened. We see them as so many policies. Pioneer Federal Ministry of Housing, Urban Development, Environmental was created in 19. So many policies. Every year, there are always one solution or the other offered. We see up to 1991, they bring it to play the national housing policy. The housing became a major issue in this country that a major political party, MPN, put housing in the center of their flag. And they call them in Yoruba land, Egbe Onile. That tells us the position of housing. The failure of past policies. The issue of both public and private sector housing delivery in Nigeria revealed that effective solutions to housing problems are yet to be found. Despite these several policies and schemes, we are still where we are. Because today, we see Nigeria at a crossroad. The dilemma of ideological inconsistency. Because when we say what's the problem of housing in Nigeria today, people say land, finance. Yes. But the problem we are facing is ideological inconsistency. Where the policy statements were not consistent. If I ask us in this hall, is Nigeria a socialist country or a capitalist country? Please, I just need an answer. We are a capitalist country. We are a capitalist country. We believe in capitalism and we practice capitalism. But the land use decree is a socialist policy. It's a socialist policy where you nationalize the land in a capitalist economy. There's a conflict in ideology. And those are what we are facing. That's what we are facing. Land use decree will work in a socialist economy. That's nationalization of the land. And land is the base of capital. If we read De Soto's book, it's the base of capital. And you see government are holding to the land as a socialist policy in a capitalist economy. There's this inconsistency. And we see all these consistencies in the policy. Up to the point that somebody is saying that government has no business competing with developers in provision of housing. When you suddenly see LSDPC that was doing social housing became commercialized, they have access to land, they have access to infrastructure, and they are competing with you, and they want you to sell at the same rate. So these are inconsistencies in policy. Policy inconsistency, policy transfer under neoliberalism. Those are issues we are facing. And until we resolve them, we'll just be marking. We say that this policy comes, it's not working. Why is it not working? Because policy transfer under neoliberalism. Neoliberalism is a general is generally associated with free trade, reduced government intervention in wealth creation, and the promotion of market-dependent strategy to serve economic and social need. That's what the World Bank and the World Power were pushing at us. No subsidy of housing. Leave everything for the market. And when you look at UK today, will you describe UK as a capitalist country? UK is a socialist country. It's a welfare country. A country where they have council houses for the poor who could not afford the market rent, where they have health opportunity, where you go to the hospital, where you go to school between age 1 and college, A-levels, free of charge. That's a socialist ideology. So, but these people, their economy was built on subsidy, and they were telling developing countries, no subsidy. Don't subsidize housing. So neoliberalism actually made government to withdraw from basic things. There are some things you cannot withdraw from. And up to 1986, before this opened the market up, before this adoption of neoliberalism, government will tell banks, these are loans that you must make available to different sectors. Agree this percentage, this percentage. We have not grown our economy to the point that we say liberalize everything. Government have no business in housing. Government have no business in market-driven houses. But the social housing, for those who could not afford to buy in the market, they are there. Up to tomorrow, people are buying through mortgage in UK, but if you cannot afford, I've witnessed, there are rough sleepers in UK. People sleep in railway station, people sleep in train station, in airport. That people will just come and carry you, rough sleepers, and put you into a project. And the beauty of that, we cannot overemphasize what we gain. So, it's a nation that really have to define itself. The rules supply the much, these rules supply the much taunted benefit? The answer is no. The answer is no. So we have to look at the market and neoliberalism. Can the private sector operate in all housing subsectors? No. When you are telling Redan, Redan houses are expensive. Yes, Redan is not established. Redan members are not NGOs. They get to the bank and borrow money. But what do we do to make houses affordable? We will get to that shortly. We'll get to that shortly. The problem across the housing development value chain. We have the land. We have the issue of title. We have the issue of of infrastructure. We have the issue of construction itself. We have the issue of sales. Many developers have developed estates that people were not buying because we only suddenly realized that there is the market, the value chain must all be well developed. And the one thing about housing is that we have the problem of existing land, housing stock, the finance issues as presented. I will make these slides available. The truth is that the city reflects the way their houses were financed. That's Leon 2002. If you have a well-structured finance system, finance is the key thing. That's why my inaugural in 2015, I said beyond brick and mortar. Housing has gone beyond brick and mortar. It's a product. It has to be commoditized. There must be finance. Once you have a robust and well-structured finance system in any country, you will see well-developed land and housing. But where there is absence of a well-structured finance system, people will be building incrementally. According to Omiri, 1992, an average Nigerian built their house for about 15 to 22 years. They laid the foundation, they plant cassava and cocoyam. 5 years they come and raise the wall to window level. It's after 15 years they get to the roofing level. You have harvested 10 years cassava from a foundation, and you are saying housing collapse. So, those are issues that we are facing. So, imperfection of flaw of poor housing finance system, which is key to what we are doing. We are still running a nation where we see this type of construction. It cannot work. It cannot work. See? Okay. This is incremental construction. This is what the model that people are used to. Lay the foundation, complete the first room. Sometimes it's another generation that will complete the house. It cannot work. In all over the world, these are where many people are. These slides were not taken in any forest. These are surrounding of University of Lagos. These are surrounding. The high-rise building you are seeing on picture 3 is the high-rise where University of Lagos staff lives. So, it's not a picture that is hidden. You see these places from the 3rd mainland bridge. This is Iwaya. I took the picture myself. The situation has not changed. These are my students surveying the surrounding of the University of Lagos. So, these are 70% of Nigerians. They were living in this condition. 70% of Nigerians, they were living in slum. 70% of Nigerians, they are living in slum. And that is the truth. This is where Nigerians are living. This is Makoko. We all see Makoko Iwaya from the 10 million bridge. They are not hidden. How can we get out of these problems? Part of the reasons. Fashola spoke. Our government of yesterday expressed its preference for providing infrastructure of the stomach, giving handouts instead of real infrastructure. This is how the seed of today's recession was sown. That we wasted our money. We did not invest in roads, highways, bridges, schools, and hospitals. Money was taken out of the larger society and invested in private accounts. The economy began to shrink. Construction company laid off workers, who in turn lost income, which resulted in shrinking demand for goods and services, and in turn led to national underproductivity. He said the solution is to spend on infrastructure, which has started. The recovery time is a function of what we can spend on how quickly we can go around it. If an arid land has not witnessed rainfall in 2 or 3 years, you know what happens when the first rain falls. It literally disappeared into the ground. In order to reach a point where any moisture is feasible in the soil, that may support the germination of seed to be planted, more rain water need to be injected. That is the truth. That is the truth. No matter how we fail. Housing is a system. I am putting this thing, I'm touching them in bit. These are separate lectures on their own. Housing is a system. And of the federal government. Housing is a system. And that mistake we made in this country. You have a beautiful car. And say, oh, come and see my car. It's so beautiful. It's only that the battery is not good. You don't have a car. Oh, I have a beautiful car. It's the carburetor, small carburetor. It's not working. You don't have a car. Oh, I have a beautiful car, but the wiper is not working. When it's raining, you park it. You don't have a car. I have a beautiful car. The headlamp is malfunctioning. You don't have a car. I have a beautiful car. The tires are not good. You don't have a car. For you to say, I have a car, all the components must be functioning. And that is housing. You know, we have delayed for too long. So let us solve the problem of land. When we solve the problem of land, we face finance. When we solve the problem of finance, we come to construction materials. When we solve the problem of construction material, we can face mortgage. No. Every sector, holistic, they must be working at the same time. And we have the responsibility to make sure that every aspect of the value chain, they begin to work. There are people that colonize us. They went through this process, and today they are better off. So what we are saying is not what nations have not done. They have done it. We remember this picture. There was time in England that bulldozers were rolled and they started demolishing houses to give way for better housing. Many of us, who is this woman? Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher. She turned around the story of housing in UK. And I'm trusting God that this present government will turn around the story of housing. Someone have done it before, and it can be done. It can be done. The mass housing need indicators. Millions in the informal sectors. Over 200,000 military personnel. Over 200,000 teachers. Over 250,000 policemen. Over 500,000 public servants. Over 500,000 students. This slide you see was in 2007. It was a slide we presented to President Yar'Adua when I was in the Board of Federal Housing Authority. This was the slide we presented. You can imagine this figure as of today. I consciously left it there. There was a roadmap. If we have this demand, it's time to put a stop to the disjointed incrementalism approach of housing delivery and embrace an integrated holistic approach that will enable us to deliver housing on a large scale, on a sustainable manner. The time is now. The time is now. There is no way houses can be affordable until it is mass produced. My grandmother was aware of that. Despite the fact that she was illiterate, she would never price anything. She always price things in dozen. I say, how much is it? Dozen. They will say 2 naira. The one will eventually buy 3. Mama, you are pricing dozen. Very simple economics tells us scales in production. The more you produce, the more you reduce the cost. As long as the solution is not in FMBN, increasing the cost of housing, the value of the loan giving to 15,000, to 20,000, to 20 million, to 50 million, because we say, where is 15 million house in the market? Where is 10 million house? We have the responsibility to work together to crash the cost of construction. And cost of construction will never go down if we continue to build one by one incrementalism. No, it will not. Mass housing supply through regeneration rather than new build and robust mortgage finance. We need it for these assets we are looking for. Recognize the various stakeholders need to deliver to mandate. Recognize that housing delivery at the scale must be tailored towards effective demand. Many of our members, when they started, they built houses that people are not coming to buy. No one should go to the site and break ground without having at least 50% or 60% obstacles. It is not done. And that's why we are working with cooperatives that mobilize the country through cooperative. Current services of housing delivery agencies in the country need to be integrated into the holistic delivery framework. We look at the understanding with the sector. Redan members have to understand we are not only in business. We are what Baba Magunje told us the day we were inaugurated as an association is that you are a pressure group. You are into business, but coming together of Redan members with the wealth they will be controlling, they will be able to exert pressure on government to change policy, to come up with policy that will favor them. So we are pressure group, and we have to look at we have to understand the real estate value chain, interrogate it, and see how we will intervene in all these aspects of value chain. Understanding the housing finance system, we must know that all over the world is mortgage. It saddens me Because my own children, they schooled in Europe. A year after leaving school, they bought their houses. And I see their counterpart in Nigeria that I'm lecturing. They were still on the street. They can't find bearing in life. And you see somebody who left school 5 years after having 2 houses. Where? He got mortgage. Mortgage is the language of real estate. Until the mortgage sector is put in proper shape, we will just be walking in circles. Because you can build a house. If people have no money to buy, the house is there. The house is just there, wasting. So, all over the world, this is the housing finance system. It's between primary and mortgage bank. It's the secondary and primary mortgage bank. And we see the interaction in the slide there. The mortgage market, the primary, the secondary, and the tertiary institution. To accentuate the issue of mortgage, when you look at this, in Denmark, mortgage forms 85% of the GDP. In USA, it's 71%. In UK, it's 70%. In Portugal, it's 50%. In Finland, it's 35%. In Hong Kong, 30%. In Nigeria, it's less than 5%. So, when you look at mortgage, when you look at the quantum of mortgage in your GDP, you can tell the prosperity, the level of prosperity of that nation. And to tell us that what led to unfortunately, the government of this country have not been able to establish the nexus between housing, mortgage, residential property market, and the national economy. And that's why they kept on. When they said they have housing summit, and nothing is discussed about, when they have economic summit, nothing is discussed about housing. I just laugh. Because the wealth of the world is between 2 sectors: residential properties and stock. Residential properties about 48%, the stock about 51%, the remaining 2% between other sectors. And that's why, because of the subprime lending that led to burst of mortgage in UK, in US, in 2006, 2007, the whole world went into recession that we've not been able to come out. That tells us the importance of mortgage in the global economy. And we can't but develop the mortgage if we want to make progress as a nation. But mortgage can never take off if there are no housing stock. Because before you can say you have mortgage, there must be housing stock. I kept on telling my students, if anybody should get to FMBN or any of these primary mortgage banks, and they give them loan to go and develop a plot, build house, lay foundation, they have not given them mortgage, they've given them construction loan. Mortgage is the money you give to people to pay back minimum 20, 25 years. That is mortgage. That is mortgage in its definition. And we have to grow it to that extent. We have to grow it to that extent. The problem of mortgage in Nigeria is a poor capital base, non-availability of housing stock, unbundled mortgage system, and locations of the mortgage, primary mortgage, the PMI not focused on main business. I'll just give you about the unbundling of the mortgage system. Unbundling of the mortgage system. Shagari mortgage. How many minutes? 5 minutes. Okay. You see, the Shagari system, the Shagari estate was established to introduce Nigeria into mortgage. Those who bought those property at 2 million, 3 million, they took mortgage of 20 years. You bought a property for 2 million, 3 million. Is it million? Thousand. They took a mortgage of 20, they took a mortgage of 20 years. They took a mortgage of 20 years, for 20 years. And we found out that many of them, they were paying back just 60 naira every month. 60 naira. Because if a house, there is no time to come to that. because the debate, there is no affordable housing. What brings affordability? We have been saying this times without number. When Multilink came to Nigeria, they were selling Multilink then at 180,000 naira. You understand? You know Multilink? This box that you carry about, the first wireless in Nigeria. It was 180,000. People ran back. People like me could not. There was a dear need for it because all of us were tired of Nitel. But when they introduced it, it was only 80,000. We all ran back. But they introduced a promo. They said, pay 50,000 and pay 10,000 for 18 months. At the end of the day, if you pay 50,000 and you pay 10,000 for 18 months, how much have you eventually bought it? 230, more than the original price, but it became affordable. People like me, people queue from Sakajojo to Ideutelo to buy it because it became affordable. What brought the affordability? Is it that the income of people increased? No. The term of payment, the long term for payment, and that is mortgage. No matter how expensive a commodity is, if the term of payment, if mortgage is introduced today, housing become affordable. Housing become affordable. So it is mortgage. It is mortgage. There are three, I told you there are three factors: income, cost, and mortgage, term of repayment. In the country, we said minimum income from 18 to 30,000. Only 6 states paid. So, asking for government to pay more, forget it. What we have to concentrate on is how do we reduce cost of construction? Because if a house is 5 million and I cannot afford as a professor, if you sell it for 500,000, all of us will buy. So, what we need to focus on is how do we as developer build more and crash the cost? How can the mortgage industry make funds available for a long time so that people will buy what we have built? Then that is the shortcut to affordability in the country. I think you will clap now. You are not clapping. Okay. Okay. I mentioned unbundling. Let me quickly come to that because the head of mortgage in Nigeria is here. Let me mention what killed Shagari mortgage. If you default in mortgage for 3 months, if you default, there will be foreclosure. But this is a woman, this is a man. Shagari Estate in Shaki, the only mortgage bank for the man to pay back the 60,000 every month was at Ibadan. The woman have to transport herself 200 naira from Shaki to Ibadan to pay 60 naira. Does it make sense? So the woman will wait for 5-6 months, accumulate it to justify the payment. By the time she has waited for 5-4 months, she has what? Defaulted. So, what did that happen? Because mortgage was not unbundled. The insurance sector was unbundled. The mortgage sector was not unbundled. If I want people are using cars at Shaki, people are using cars at Ijebode, people are using at Karu, people are using cars at Ilela in Sokoto. But they don't need to come to Sokoto. People living in Ilela, they don't need to come to Sokoto to get insurance. Because insurance have been unbundled. There are brokers in Ilela that they walk to and take their policy. When they want to renew their insurance, they go to Ilela. They don't need to come to. But because all the PMIs were at the federal capital, and in Lagos, 90% were in Victoria Island. So many boys got in Victoria Island. So, mortgage will not work in a situation where they have not unbundled. So, it is the responsibility of government to unbundle the mortgage sector, to make sure that brokers were registered all over Europe, all over America. They are mortgage brokers. They are mortgage brokers. So it's a key issue that we have to look at to deepen the mortgage market in Nigeria. We have to unbundle the mortgage sector. Well, proposed regeneration program. There's only one thing I want to say. People there is enough debate. There is enough debate on there is no housing deficit of 17 million. I proved that severally, that the figure is bogus. People will say that we have 20 million housing deficit. If an average household size is 5, and we multiply by 20 million, which means that we have 100 million people living outside. No, we can't say that. We can't say that. So, I want to say that there is opportunity for us as real estate developer not to focus on new builds alone. Not to focus on new builds alone. They are all over the world. Slums are being transformed to this kind of development. These developments are in Asia. So, they are all over the world. It's not small-time developers that are doing this. They are developers. So we should not all face new builds. Let's work with government to clean up, because these slums, they were in the prime locations of our cities. All these slums locations of Makoko. Look at Lagos, for example. From Adekunle to Iwaya, to Oworoshoki, to Ketu, Agboyi, to Ebute. All of them, they were at this lagoon front. And all over the world, lagoon fronts are prime properties. But we see our lagoon fronts in Nigeria being occupied by slum. So, it is our preoccupation to make sure that we begin to take in urban regeneration into our portfolio. And the question is that they've done it in Kenya. They've done it in South Africa. We can do it. One architect, the members of architects, they were there. We had a good week message representative from Institute of Architects. Many of us that were used to Lagos, there is this place they call Oluwole. Oluwole is a slum and notorious for, what's Oluwole known for? Fraud, certificates, certificate forgery and all the rest. This is Oluwole. That's Oluwole in the midst of well-developed place of Lagos Island. But an architect lives, took it upon himself and regenerated Oluwole. 175 families were taken off that location, took them to Shasha, resettled them at Shasha, while they were building Oluwole, and eventually they. You see, the problem I have is that my minimum lectures in university is 3 hours. Because I take 3 units courses. Those are the students I see every week. Oh, how much more you have never seen again? So, yes, don't worry, we will get there. It's a storytelling, and I think you are enjoying it. So, do you want to deny them where they are enjoying? Okay, I just want to tell us that it is doable. Oluwole is like this today, no longer that slow. We have to put up a structure in our office. This young man engaged the 175 families, built a beautiful flat for them at Shasha, resettled them. I went to Shasha and interviewed those people. They were in tears. They said, in our life, we never knew we could live in such a beautiful estate. Their children were riding bicycles. And eventually, it was a joint partnership with them. Eventually, they had the first 2 floors where they built shops for them. They were occupying. So, I was also involved in Ijora Badia when Governor Fashola was the governor. This was Ijorabadia that we presented to him, and he gave us the site to go and turn around. And this is what we have there. This is what, you see, this is when Ijorabadia project was under construction. It was a research product of Professor Olusoya that was turned to this in Ijorabadia. You see, it's doable. It's doable. Ijorabadia. Yeah, it's doable. That's the house under construction. But this was a former slum at Ijora there, when it's almost facing National Theatre. So we have such prime land at Kano, Kaduna, that we must begin to work on. The one I was also involved is the Ilasan. Ilasan happened to be Jakondi Estate, where people that were evicted from Morocco were sent to, forcefully occupied. There is a very volatile place. They don't want to see government people, but we work with them. I took 200 students there. We did the enumeration. We did enumeration of about 2,000 people. People came from US because they are attachment to that land. And because of this slum, you see, there was a looting when they are in South Africa there and ENSA. The ShopRite that was looted. The ShopRite that was looted. 70% of those who looted that place were traced to that place. Slum in our community is a dead spot. We have to get rid of them. But we don't forcefully eject them. We work with them to develop beautiful estate. Their economy, the land there is 60 hectares. Big land in that prime land. It's an island of poverty, surrounded by affluence. But we see that this is the design and proposal we made for them. That 1/3 of the land can be used, because these are small buildings. We can go up to 4 or 5 floors, accommodate them there. We release 40 hectares of land, prime land, for real estate development. This is how we must be able to prepare to regenerate our cities. Another method is actually putting cooperative together. I won't talk much about that. Cooperatives are the best off-takers. And Nigerians, we have cooperatives. Even those who are selling pepper in the market, they have association. So we have to leverage on this cultural system to release people into mass housing market. So there are so many houses in Lagos, in Kaduna, that were not completed. There must be government policy. Instead of saying that we want to give 15 million to buy a new house, many Nigerians just need 1 million to put roof. And in 1977, government gave an act, the Act of Roofing Act, that they gave loans to people to complete their roof. And thousands of houses were brought to the market. We must give home improvement and house completion loan. Those who are building their houses for 16 years, if they were given intervention, they can bring the property to the market within a short time. Then we need the new build for outright purchase, for shared equity, for rent to buy. All these are products that FMBN said they are implementing today. So all these I've said, I'm concluding with the model we brought up, that let there be housing finance fund. Let government be ready to work with Redan. We call them development agents. Those are Redan. Then working with cooperatives, working with FMBN, we can create a mass housing portfolio that will be securitized in the secondary market. And this is the model that this is the model that brings every stakeholder together, and that the role of government is expressed in this model. That all over the world, people will never have enough money to pay for the mortgage, to pay for the house. They have their equity, they have the loan they've taken. There's a gap.
The gap is funded through government infrastructure. Government must be able to do it. That was the success of Babaja Konde in Lagos. He said, as a governor, I have the responsibility to provide land. I have the responsibility to provide infrastructure. So when you remove land and infrastructure from cost of land, the cost will crash. So government must really wake up to that responsibility of funding the affordable gap. The government roles are well stated. In conclusion, housing education. That's why we started in University of Lagos. Today, in University of Lagos, we have masters and PhD in housing. Because we got loan from African Development Bank in 2013. We got grant to establish the center. It's a big center today that I've spoken to one or two people that have come to the center. We need to have understanding. We found out that there is lack of housing education in the country. I became aware of that in 2007 when we were in the National Housing Committee. And we are saying REIT will solve the problem of the country if we can have REIT. Oh, housing finance will be available through REIT. The person that represented the ministry in that committee, we've been saying this since Monday. On Friday, when we wanted to round up, he said, hey, you people have been saying REIT will help this sector. Where is he living? If he's in Lagos, let's bring him. Because as at that time, General Rees was the chairman of FHA. So he thought REIT is another name. So we found out that people, they have little understanding of this sector. So that's why we started that program. Housing education is very important. We must embrace it. My dream since 2006, when I served on that committee of federal housing, is that this is where we are today. I took this picture myself. This is Tomiland Bridge that is behind it. So it's not hidden. This is where Nigerians were living. House to let. Within 2 weeks of that advert, that house was fully occupied. That is in the heart of Lagos, where in every part of the world, you don't see shanties facing sea. So, but this is where we wish to be. And through the effort of Redan, we will achieve that. Through the effort of Redan. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
It is important, please clap. If you're happy with this lecture, I think we can clap a little. Well, we have two important things to do before we go take a little break. What is important that I appreciate one man who is our landlord here. Of course, the Vice President of Redan North Central. Please can we clap for Chief Andy Elewere. He's also the MDC of IBEN Group. It's also a group that has started working on houses for the future. He's commissioned a project on research to find out what housing would look like in the next 20 years. He's also done that very well. Please, let's clap for him. Unlocking knowledge in a new way. Thank you very much for challenging us, even in the FCT and in the North Central. The next item on our program will be our lead presentation and our lead intervention. It's in the renewed hope era, and that is why it is important that we listen carefully to these statements, because this, for us now, is the highest political position that you can have at this point in this House. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Distinguished Senator Dr. George Akume, is represented here today by Professor Bernard Babatunde. Please put your hands together for him.
Thank you very much. the president of Redan, the keynote speaker, the MD of the Mortgage Bank. Please permit me to stand an already well-established protocol. I know as I mount the podium, many of you will be saying another professor. Maybe he teaches 3 hours course, and yes, I do, but I will do my best possible to keep within the time, saying that I will declare the AGM open today. I am very happy and pleased to be representing the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, distinguished Senator George Akume. It will interest you that it's a man who has great passion for housing. When I was sharing some pictures and videos of his efforts when he was Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, he was quite surprised. Distinguished Senator, Your Excellency George Akume, while he was Minister of Special Duties, we got a technology from Germany to be able to build houses with the plastic bottles on your table. And we have a 4-bedroom, standard 4-bedroom house sitting at Lugbe here in Abuja. If you care, anytime you can stop by. And so to cascade this thing down to the ordinary person on the street, we took to training Almajiris and other street youths on the street on this technique of building low-cost housing with plastic bottles which are recovered from the waste bin. And it was a huge success. It was towards the end of his tenure as minister. This was also crafted and enveloped in a national poverty reduction program, which has been approved by Federal Executive Council in February of 2021, to go around the entire country training these street young people on low-cost housing and the production of interlocking ties from your pure water nylon. It's a technology that has been proven in Germany, and the Germans came here themselves to train the trainers. So it's a huge opportunity, and as if you know, despite inviting him here, probably in his capacity as the SGF, you didn't know that the man himself is very interested in low-cost housing, which will trickle down to the ordinary person. I must also tell you, as you may have seen, barely 2 weeks in office, the government of the day has proven that it is ready to work. It has hit the ground running. The president is willing to listen, and is willing to do everything under the law to be able to deliver the dividends of democracy to the ordinary people of Nigeria who voted him into the office. You have actually made the work of the SGF on this matter a lot simple. The presentation of the president, the presentation of the keynote speaker, and the other goodwill messages have left me with so much to take back to him. Usually, I'm a technocrat. I'm a nuclear scientist and an environmental scientist. Usually when I attend this type of gatherings, beautiful, noble, but the discussions are always lost in transition because the English are well spoken. We clap our hands, and then at the end of the day, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, when you ask, where are we? The scenario looks like we haven't started. But I'm happy with Redan. I'm thoroughly happy. Apart from you can see the originality in the presentation of the keynote speaker. Professor Nubi, I thank you. I was fully educated. I sent a private message to my private secretary, and I told her to listen carefully because she's going to summarize this for me. I am much interested in the efforts you've presented, the objectives, and of course your recommendations. The fact that Redan has already proposed a bill to establish Real Estate Regulatory Council of Nigeria, it's a major step forward. That's why I am happy that it's not in the talking stage. We have an actionable paper or an actionable initiative on ground. I understand that the bill has been passed by both houses, and it's before the presidency in the last couple of days. My first assignment to prove the support from the SGF office is to locate that bill and get the president to assent to it. I am also very happy that the managing director of the mortgage financing for the country is in this house. I was going to, I don't know him, please pardon me, so I was going to whisper to him to make sure that his MD called me when we leave here, and he told me he is the MD. So the problem is actually half solved. And I've also told him the government today wants to work and deliver the dividends of democracy to Nigerians, and the ordinary people in particular. So I asked him, what are your challenges to be able to give mortgage to a vulcanizer on the street? If there are challenges why a vulcanizer or a KK rider cannot access mortgage for housing, please bring those challenges and let us discuss it and advise the SGF on the way to present it before Mr. President. I review the national housing deficit for government of Mexico and the Nigerian government in partnership with the Mexican government. This was 2016 or 2015. I was fascinated by the efforts towards housing in Nigeria. I can tell you, like the keynote speaker presented, this fragmented or the disjointed efforts is one of the major problems. If all these efforts thus far have been coordinated, have been integrated, I can guarantee you that 17-point-something million housing deficit, when I was doing my review, which it was there, I don't know how far it has gone up or down, would have been arrested at some point in time. President Olusegun Obasanjo, when he was head of state, established in the 6 geopolitical zones the production of the burnt brick, factories to produce the burnt brick. And I understood, I don't know if it was an executive order or it was promulgated, that every government house must be built with those burnt brick. If that was the case, I don't think cement will be costing so much by now, because if you just take off 1 to 2 meters of the topsoil, you can have access to laterite and burn your bricks and build your house. Right now, when it's being done by some quarters, I have a house built by it completely because my wife asked for it. But our neighbors say they are poor people. That's why they are building with that kind of bricks. We like it. It's friendly with the element. The type we are building, we built under the special duties also. It's element friendly because the bottles are filled with laterite. That's the technique. How to fill it, how to lay it, is what you must come to Professor Babatunde before you can know. However, it's common knowledge. So, if government had achieved making sure all government buildings are built with that form of brick, it would have been a tsunami right now. Everybody would have been building with it because they saw government did it. So government has a major role to play. And I am standing here on behalf of the Secretary of the Government of the Federation, having known his passion for low-cost housing for the ordinary people. I want to tell you that the government is going to do its very best possible to work with Redan to also re-engineer the mortgage financing to be able to give access to the ordinary person on the street to financing of housing. I served the United Nations as a consultant and lived in many countries, and I witnessed the type of mortgaging he's talking about. When at the initial stage, as a young man, when I had so much money, serving the UN, and I wanted to buy a house, and then the lady was kind enough to call me one side and say, "How long do you plan to stay here?" And I told her, and they said, "Why do you want to spend all this money buying a house? Get a mortgage." And a mortgage for 30 years. Wow. That was so much news for me. So you can imagine a Okada rider receiving the news that he can take 5 million to get a house, pay for a house, and he can pay that in 30 years. I am very sure the deficit of housing will reduce by 3/4 before 1 year ends. So the government is going to do its best possible from here. I'll take the message back and try to let my principal understand that it's crucial and imperative at this instance to work with Redan, especially to establish that council, because that is going to standardize the housing development in Nigeria. It's going to checkmate the quacks. It's also going to take care of quite a lot of things that eventually will make sure that members we operate within a certain limit, even in terms of charging and cost for housing. So I think that act needs to be assented to so that it can come into play and make things happen for you. So once again, I thank Redan. I thank all the collaborators. I am particularly happy with the choice of participants that especially they were on this side of the table, because those are the main players. If anything is going to happen for the ordinary man, these people must all sit together, maybe through their research and development arm, to make sure we put everything together to drive down the cost to get housing for an ordinary person. The use of plastic to build housing is not a Nigerian thing. If you go to some other African countries, the government is actually in the forefront, leading the building of housing with a plastic bottle. In Kenya or Uganda, I can't remember precisely, they are equivalent of UBE. Every UBE building is built with plastic picked from the street. And if you pick off plastic from the street, you know how many you are like killing 10 birds with just one stone. So it's important for the organization to, I mentioned to him also, there's another arm of government which deals with raw material in the building industry. And they also need to come on board so that you have a robust research arm to be able to drive the cost of building material down, and the best possible begin to ensure that maybe 90, why not 100% of every building material for a house comes from Nigeria. We have it. So I will encourage Redan to be able to harness all the possibilities, but I can assure you again on behalf of my principal, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, distinguished Senator George Akume, Your Excellency, that the government is willing to partner with organizations that will deliver the dividends of democracy to the generality of Nigerians. I thank you very much.
I think he deserves a standing ovation. Let's clap for him, please. Let's clap. Professor, I want to request that you take a personal picture with our president because we want to frame it. It's very important. Please, photographers, this picture is important. We will use this picture and frame it when we come to. Thank you. Well, I've just been told to also inform us that if you go on YouTube at Redan TV 23, the paper of Prof. Our keynote speaker will be there. We are also been able to break into little tablets the speech of our special guest of honor. Those things you promised directly and indirectly, our team is also breaking it down. So we are going to be following you up to remind you of those things you said today. We are also breaking it down. Our research team is already working on your speech, sir. So we follow through to remind you of the good things you promised us. They also have asked me to inform you that you should formally declare this event open. Please, let's clap for him as he does that.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. It actually skipped me along the line. I hereby, on behalf of the Secretary of the Government of the Federation, declare this 14th AGM open. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's a lot in stock. The next item before we take the break will be a vote of thanks. And our president has agreed that we should allow a superwoman to do it. Some people have described her in various ways. The first female quantity surveyor in northern Nigeria. Please put your hands together for Madam Mercy Iota, the second deputy president of Redan. Please put your hands together for.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my job is not only simple, but it is easy. At least it's not as hard as that of the guest speaker, who had to prepare for delivery, for effective delivery. My job is actually only to say thank you. So my very big thank you goes to our special guest of honor, His Excellency, Distinguished Senator Dr. George Akume, who is ably represented today by his SA, Professor Babatunde, who, despite the very short notice, was able to honor our invitation and to declare the AGM open. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you to all our special guests of honor seated on the high table here. We have representatives from the Permanent Secretary, Federal Minister of Works and Housing, and the FCT. The MD of the Federal Mortgage Bank is here with us. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. The Chairman, Board of Trustees of Redan, thank you, sir. Our patrons, they are seated in the front rows, hopefully. BOT, patrons and the BOT. Our erudite speaker for his very eloquent delivery of a very, very apt topic. Thank you very much, Professor. Always on point. All our special invitees, our special guests, they are too numerous to mention. Presidents of professional bodies being represented, SCUMO was here, FOSI, and so on. We thank you for coming and for identifying with us, and for your promises to collaborate with Redan. Thank you. May God bless you. Want to appreciate ESCOM members on behalf of the president that are supporting the president of Redan. And I want to pause here to say a big thank you to the president of Redan for his visionary leadership for Redan, and we can see all the results. They are coming out. And by the grace of God, more will come out. We thank the Secretariat and the media group who are here with us. But above all, let me send our gratitude to all our participants. Because without you, this occasion will not hold. And I always want to refer to the story in the Bible where some guests were invited to a banquet, and all the invitees declined. So they sent them to call the people on the street to come and fill in it and feast on the banquet. So the uninvited people were the ones that came and filled up the banquet. But here we are today. A lot of people have come here. Nobody was dragged. Actually, nobody was dragged from the street to come here. We are all here on our own volition. And so I want to say thank you, and thank you for coming and for participating in this AGM opening ceremony. And we look forward to seeing you, those of you who are to participate at the next session at the AGM proper. So may God bless all of us and grant us journey mercies to our destinations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Let's clap for her, please. We thank her for delivering such a beautiful vote of thanks. We will take a few announcements. One of them is that please remember that if you're carrying your bag, write your name fully with your phone number so that in case someone picks your bag mistakenly, they can call you to return it. Please. The bags all look alike, and you may have more than, some of you have your personal and valuables in them. Please, so that you don't lose your passport or other things that you have in the bags. Carry your phones also with you. Lunch is in the other hall. Immediately after the group photograph and the national anthem, we'll go there. It's in 30 minutes, and we are back here fully for the AGM. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, one more time, I'll say we should clap for our president for delivering such a beautiful, beautiful AGM for us. So without wasting more time, we'll take the group picture first on the high table, and then we'll take a longer one here in front, and after that, we'll take the national anthem together. My name is Ben 200. Half human, half amazing. It's an honor being your MC for this opening ceremony.
Suleiman should come up here. All the patrons, please. BOT members. We should please take it down. We should go down. The BOTs, patrons, Some can line up here.
Please can some can be on the base. Can we all be on? Let's come to the base, please. Mr. President will now lead all the other members of the high table down here so we can take the picture on the ground floor. Mr. President will lead us to the ground floor, please. Please, we have step. Oh. Don't snap if you are owing Pampe. Lunch is in the other room. I mean, the hall next door. ESCO members will be leading us first, please. Every other person, just hold on. They need to go and check for quality control. We appreciate the Women Committee. Thank you very much. All the women in building, women in taxation, women in quantity survey, beautiful women making Nigerians proud. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Women in ushering, women in cooking. Thank you, sir. The MC card. Right, it's okay. Thank you, sir.
Well done. Well done. You did well.
Thank you, sir. Please, we have lunch. Let's allow the ESCO members to lead us. We appreciate the Redan Women Committee. Thank you very much. Redan Women Committee, we appreciate you for your good work. Thank you. God bless you. Okay, sir. Long time, sir. Long time, sir.
Thank you for coordinating the event.
Thank you, sir.
You make it
Thank you,
much,
sir.
much lively.
Thank you, sir. Well done, sir. No, sir. That was enough. My card. AMC. Then half women, half wonder. No, sir. Well done, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Ben,
Sir, am I permitted to come and visit?
please, 30 minutes lunch so that we come back for our AGM.
Let's allow the ESCO to lead us. Every other person eat. In 30 minutes, we are back here. Thank you very much. Our VIPs will go ahead. Thank you.
National anthem.